So right now, we're going to do the Tonight Show edition, late night show of Storytellers Night. And I'm going to welcome Mr. Mark Johnston to the stage.
I asked Ashley to do that. I've always wanted to be on Jimmy Fallon, and I don't think I'll ever make it, so I was like, can you go out there and introduce me? That'd be cool. So thank you. And thank you for the applause. I appreciate it.
So here we are, and it's so nice to be sitting in a comfy couch.
I know.
I think the nerves are gonna just kind of go down a couple notches now that we just feel like we're hanging out here with you.
And I am nervous. I'm in radio, and people think that people in radio love to public speak. No. I sit in a box every day and say stupid things and hope people laugh, but I don't see if they laugh or not. And now I'm here in front of 100 people about to say what a fuck up I was. So let's do it.
All right. You ready to go there? We'll go there.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I want to go back to this moment with you. I started a storytelling series on my Instagram as part of IGTV called Storytelling TV. I feel like that's a big mouthful. Where I just wanted more people, just general public, to be able to just share stories, kind of come on and, share stories for 10 minutes or less. And you were the second person, I believe, that I ever had on. And, I'd known you, but I hadn't really known you. And, I see you on social media all the time, and you've got that big, goofy smile, and you've got that, that big, warm heart that everybody just, loves you for, And you started your video, and you spun around your chair, and you looked at the audience that wasn't the audience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you said, "Hi, I'm Mark Johnston, and I'm an alcoholic." And I actually thought you were kidding. Because I'm like, oh, Mark's the funny guy. He's gonna play this line, right? But you weren't.
No.
And so tell me about what was going through your mind, or leading up to that moment where you're like, I'm gonna share this, because it was the first time, correct, that you'd actually shared that story on social media.
Right. Because family and friends knew the story, but that was the first time that I shared it publicly, which I'm glad that you asked me to, because it gave me a platform to share. And since I did share, it's opened up so many doors, and people have reached out to me and said, listen, I'm struggling as well. Let's meet for coffee. Let's do this. And I think it showed that anybody can be affected by this. I'm a 28-year-old. I came from a great family. My dad is a lawyer. My mom worked for the government. I never had to worry about where my next meal was going to be from. No trauma in my childhood. I came from a great upbringing, but yet this is where it took me, right? So I think it was just good to show people that, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, whatever it is, you can be affected by addictions. Mm-hmm. And that video, it's truly life-changing, so thank you for allowing me to do that. And, when I said it in the video that I'm Mark and I'm an alcoholic, it's getting easier now, but those words were really, really hard for me to say at first, because that's a scary thing to admit, right? And that's not something that is just going to be a month and it's going to go away. It's going to be the remainder of my life that I'm going to have to deal with this and going to have to work on it day by day.
Do you remember that first moment that you had a drink?
I don't know if it's the first moment. I remember the first time that I got drunk, and from that point on, I knew that I drank differently than everybody else. And I was 15 when that happened, and then when I started doing drugs, when I was 21 and I was introduced to cocaine, then I drugged differently than everybody else as well. So I knew right off the bat that I was just different than everyone else, and there was so many red flags in my life from the time I was 15 to when I was 25 when I got sober. The DUI, spending a night in the drunk tank, fights, just a lot of stupid shit that should have made me open up my eyes and go, all right, this is a problem. Trips to the hospital, but it never did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So can you walk us through, I know that those moments, your mind is so foggy. You really have no idea what's going on, right? But in those times where, you know, you were either, you know, in the drunk tank or whatever was happening, is there a certain memory that you kind of take us to where, you know, how does that feel when you're in that state?
At that time, the drunk tank one was when I was out at Craven, and that one I didn't think was a very big deal, which is stupid, right? And the reason I got in the drunk tank, actually someone told me, because when I drank, I would normally black out and forget things. So I was out at Craven. I don't remember what year it was, but I was walking down a road in Craven, and a vehicle was behind me, and it was honking, and I wouldn't move. And then the gentleman jumped out of his vehicle, and it was a police officer, and I yelled to him, "Fuck the police." And then they scooped me up and threw me in the truck. And I don't remember this. They had to tell me the next day. I went to the drunk tank in Lumsden. I got out the next morning. The first call I made was to my buddies that were out at Craven and said, "Hey, can anyone come pick me up? I want to come back out there." It was about 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. No one could drive at that point. So I ended up walking down the highway with my belongings in a garbage bag from the Lumsden RCMP and walked back to Craven. And, you know, looking back, there's a lot of things like that. You know, you would think that might be the point where it'd be like, hey, this is an issue, but that wasn't even that was just the beginning, basically. You know, there was times too, and looking back with a clear mind now, like there'd be times when, you know, it'd be 8 a.m. and, you know, we would finish the cocaine, and then the next thing would be, all right, well, let's go look in the medicine cabinet and see what's in there to see if there's anything in there that can do the trick, which is so fucked up that you would even think that, right? Like that's not fun. That's obviously an issue. And even at that time, I didn't really think that it was. So it's looking back with a clear mind, I know, but at the time I didn't.
So when, I guess, did you start introducing both? I mean, so at what age did you start consuming alcohol?
So 15, and then 21, I was introduced to cocaine, and of all places, it was in Mexico that I did it, which is just silly to do it down there. But again, right, you know, when I did it, I loved it. And even to this day, it's funny. People will ask me, I'm almost 3 months sober now, December 29th, 2015. I have it tattooed, so I remember. People ask if I miss it. I say, yeah, I miss it. I had a ton of fun. Of course I miss it. But near the end, it wasn't fun. And it wasn't, and a lot of the times throughout, like a DUI in the drunk tank, it wasn't fun. And I do miss it, but I'm not going back because sober life is much better. And when it wasn't fun was in early 2015 when, like I was saying, there were so many things that happened in my life, like a DUI, drunk tank, going to the hospital, different things. It wasn't until a relationship ended that made me think, all right, obviously this needs to get figured out. And that whole year, 2015, was a constant struggle of going a few days or, you know, going a week or whatever sober and thinking, okay, this is good. And then I would just immediately go back to doing drugs and drinking. And that was just a way of coping with this relationship ending. And it was a tough year. I didn't really ask for help until later on in that year, which I don't know why I didn't, because I have great friends, I have great family, but I was just struggling alone. I tell the story, and it's funny, someone actually mentioned this to me the other day, because people, now that I'm open about it, and you gave me the platform, people approach me, and you know, they'll remind me of something maybe I said in the video, and in the video I said that, you know, I felt so alone and I was struggling that I would have to have, in my bedroom, I'd have the TV on. And then if I needed to go to the bathroom, I'd want the TV on in the living room as well, just so I could hear voices, so I didn't feel alone. So that was a pretty shitty feeling for that whole year, and a constant struggle of back and forth of, all right, I can kick this, all right, I'm back on it. And that's when it wasn't fun, and it was dark.
So, you know, what comes to mind too is, did you ever ask yourself the question, why? Like, I think that, you know, when you're so deep down that you don't even really have the coherence to probably really be in that mentally clear state, right? But, you know, when we think about addiction, it's always masks, right? So it's always trying to cover ourselves with masks all the time, right? So was there ever a mask that you felt that you had to keep putting up, or, you know, why, I guess? Have you asked yourself that?
No, not really. I think why I did it is because I wanted to be the life of the party, and I thought I was the life of the party, and I thought to be the life of the party that I needed drugs and alcohol, and I felt that way for a long time. And I thought that I was the life of the party until I got sober, and a lot of people were like, "Fuck, you were just the worst. Like, you're just." They wouldn't want to hang out with me, and I'm just thinking, you know, you think you're a better dancer, you think you're funny. Really, you're just a mess. Like, if you could go back and watch video of me, you know, on the dance floor at the Owl or the Pump, thinking I'm just, you know, the best, and just see the video, it's probably awful. But I think that's why I did it. I think that I just thought that I needed that to have fun, and it was something that I thought was normal. And, you know, I think I was surrounding myself with people, well, I know I was surrounding myself with people that were just as bad as me, so I could justify it, right? Well, I'm not that bad, you know. Look at him, or look at him, or look at him, or look at her, right? I was justifying it. And this thing just popped into my mind because I thought I was such a hero doing this. I was at a garage one time with some friends, and friends, not really anymore. And we were sitting there, and we were doing coke and drinking beers, and then I saw a guy smoking something. I'm like, that kind of smells weird. I'm like, I don't think that's weed. And he was smoking crack in the garage that I was at. And I just, like, at that point, I just got up and walked out, and that was kind of eye-opening for me. That, like, except that was like where I drew the line, right? If you're gonna smoke it, that's awful, but snorting it, that's totally fine, right? But I just walked out and left, and that was kind of an eye-opening moment for me, where it was like, okay, this isn't where I need to be. This isn't where I belong. I need to figure this out.
Yeah, and did you have any experiences with close friends where there was really close calls? Because I think sometimes that happens when you're surrounded by people that are, you know, doing the exactly same thing that you are, and you're being pressured by, you know, consuming the way that they are as well. Did you have any moments or really close calls with friends where you were like, wow, like life was on the line there?
As in close calls, as in? As
in like an overdose, or, you know, somebody almost dying, something like that?
Not overly. I guess there was one situation in particular where kind of thought, but there was nothing ever like that that scared me or anything like that.
So take me to that moment in your life, and like really take us there. You know, if you can remember the day and what was happening and how you're feeling, and if there were any prior moments, you know, leading up to that moment where, you know, reality really hit you and you were like, I need to change. I need to do something about this.
That one was my dad confronted me. I was living with him at the time, and he had a bunch of watches in his room, and a couple of watches went missing, and he approached me, and I don't know if it was accused, but basically did that I had stole his watches to pay for booze and drugs. And that one, when your own dad thinks that one hurt. And I didn't think I was gonna cry. Yeah, that one hurt, and it still does. And still to this day, I'll tell him I didn't do it. But that one was eye-opening. I didn't think I was gonna cry.
Short water break.
Yeah, and I still tell him that I didn't do it, and I don't know whether he believes me or not. I think at this point, now that I've turned my life around and I'm going in the direction that I'm going, I think he does, or I think at this point he doesn't care if I did or not, because he's proud, you know, of the person that I've become, and I can say that that I'm proud of the person I've become too. Because before it was a lot of, Mark's a good guy, and that but was drugs and alcohol. And now I hope people just say, you know what, Mark's a good guy. And that's it, no more buts.
So even before that experience, what was your relationship like with your family and your parents? Was there moments where they would always, let you know that was the support there, or was there more kind of disconnect when you were going through these experiences?
No, I think the support was there, but I don't think they knew it was as bad as it was until I think my dad first realized it was as bad as it was when I was at my sister's wedding. And so stupid. I was going around my sister's wedding asking people if they had Coke. Like anybody, just walking around saying, I'm at my sister's wedding. Probably asked a family member that ended up going to my dad and being, well, I did ask a family member, and she ended up telling my dad, which at the end is a saving grace, because I think that was kind of when it all came out. But just, yeah, like I think the relationship me and my parents had was good, but again, it could have been just foggy, and I just thought maybe it was good, but now it is great. And every relationship that I have, I can say, is great. And, my girlfriend's fantastic. She's a great support. The people that I've drawn into my life since being sober, you included, and many people that are here tonight, I can say that's because I am sober, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't have that. If I would have continued down the path that I was on, I wouldn't have the job that I have, which I can say I truly do love. I live at a great place. I have a good vehicle. Like I said, great girlfriend that's here tonight supporting me. So if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't be in the job that I have. I know that because I would have been fired. I know I would have been. So yeah, I'm grateful for everything that's happened. And people, I've been asked, like, would you change anything? And no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything, because like tonight, obstacles away. This has made me a much better person. I wouldn't go back and change anything. The DUI, any of that, I wouldn't change it, because it's just brought me to where I am sitting here today.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on that, as we kind of wrap up as well. But, tell me what that first day was like when you were sober. Like, I think that so many things change when you start to get back into a space where you're feeling healthy and you're aware of what's happening. So what did it feel like to truly be sober again?
It felt good. I still remember December 28th, I had one last rye and ginger in the garage that I was living at the time, and just one. And, or not the garage I was living in at the time. I was living in a house, and they had a garage. Times are tough, man, boy. Yikes. No, I was living in a house, and I was hanging out in the garage. Oof. So I had a rye and ginger, and then the next day I'm like, okay, this is it. This has got to stop. And, to try to get sober, the worst possible time to do it is around New Year's. Like, why December 29th when New Year's is just around the corner is so stupid. But, no, it was great. And it was, I was keeping track on my phone, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. And, now it's 1,081 days or whatever it is. I still have it on my phone. So that's a cool feeling as I get further and further into it. And one of the guys that reached out to me after I originally did the video with you, he's like, well, I've only got 20 days. I started at 20 days too, and now I got 1,000 and whatever it is. So you got to start somewhere. So it's just been continuously getting better and better. And of course, there's still things that go on in life that you got to deal with, right? Like I started going to AA meetings, but wasn't a huge fan of them. So I have a counselor that I'll go to, and it's not a whole lot. I just kind of know when I'm feeling off, which this week I have kind of been feeling off. So I'll go to him. It might be once a month. It might be once every couple of weeks, but I know when I need to go to him, and then I'll go there, chat with him, and feel a lot better. He says it's like a diabetic needing insulin. That's like me going there, call him, and then feel much better. And a way more clear mind too. Like, and as people more openly talk about mental health, like Jess did tonight, and the things she was saying, made me realize more and more that I do deal with anxiety. And there's tons of people that are in the city that are talking more about mental health. Jim Demeray does a great job of that. Keenan George threw up a video on social media, who's here tonight. It's just people are being more vocal about it, and it's fantastic. And again, what Jess was saying tonight, I'm like, fear of failure, yeah. Fear of conflict, yeah. Fear of getting in trouble, that kind of, and all these things. Like, I do deal with all that, but I'd much rather deal with that than what I was dealing with before, right? So there's still stuff that goes on, but it's just much easier. And self-care is, I realize, is so much more important. And again, after Jess was talking tonight, she's like, eat good and stuff like that, and sleep. And it's like, I need to do all that. I haven't been eating well, or maybe that's why I'm feeling off. But I've just put more care and attention into my self-care as well. Yoga, try to do meditation, that kind of stuff to just, and even just take my mind off of booze and drugs, because my mind's always going to be like that. If people are addicts, that's always where your mind's going to venture there sometimes. Like, even Casey, my girlfriend, was baking in the kitchen the other day, and I don't know, there's some kind of white powder that fell on the island, and the first thing that my mind goes to is, man, that looks kind of good, right? Like, roll up a $1 bill, like but that's never gonna go away. It isn't. That's just what I have to deal with, and I, have to fight the urge. Although that was sugar or powder or whatever, so it wouldn't have done anything. But that's where my mind goes, and other addicts know that's where your mind goes.
Are there any other things that trigger you, or is it kind of sometimes just at random?
Yeah, it's just kind of at random. At first, I tried to stay away from social outings which basically are all of them, that had alcohol, right? But now that doesn't bother me. I'll go to weddings, and I actually have more fun now than I did before, because I blacked out at one of my best buddies' wedding and don't remember anything. Like, that kind of sucks, right? Whereas now it's like I remember everything and still act like an idiot. I took my shirt off at a wedding and was waving it around, and someone off to the side said to one of my friends, "Man, that guy's drunk." Actually, no, he hasn't had a drink. So, I can still, I have more fun now. So yeah, it's, that's so stupid to swing my shirt around like that. I should behave better at weddings.
But I think that sets such a good precedent too, because I think that's something that we all like, that idea of having fun and just being silly and just enjoying moments without having to consume, right? So, was that hard for you at first? What did you kind of have to give yourself little pep talks, or, I'm assuming that you've always naturally been a social person.
Yeah, I have naturally been a social person. I think at first when I did kind of start introducing myself again into social situations like that, I kind of did have to give myself a pep talk. And then if I was feeling like, okay, I kind of want a drink or something, I would get out of there. But yeah, you're right. I feel like just in society in general, a lot of stuff is just around booze, and people our age, it's like Friday hits and you got to go out and drink until you can't think, basically, right? But there's so much more to life than that. And I would just tell someone, if they're struggling, that it's way better on this side than it is on the other, and to reach out to someone. I say it's so lame, but I say, colors are brighter, smells are better. Even went down to Vegas in December, and just being down there, I'm just looking around and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. If I came 4 years ago, I wouldn't remember any of this. It's just, you get to appreciate life a lot more.
You feel alive, right? And it's the same, just being able to see and smell, and just even go back to your, our basic senses, because it really takes away. So when you can feel all of those at once again, I'm sure that it feels amazing.
It does, yeah. And I feel like I've always been a happy, cheery, outgoing, fun guy, but I just feel like that's just gone way up now that I am sober, and people actually enjoy me better now, because like I said before, people are like, "Fuck, you're such an idiot." It's Mark over there. Oh, let's go the other way kind of thing if we were out. So yeah, it feels better, and people even now, 3 years into it, will text me and make me realize that I did make the right decision. A buddy who just recently got married, who's a cop, texted me and said that he thought that he was going to have to cut ties with me because I was so bad. And then again, that makes me think like, oh, it must have been that bad if that's what he was going to do, right? So I could have lost one of my best buddies because of it. So it just, things like that, you know, it kind of hurts to hear, right? But at the same time, it continues to motivate me to continue down the path that I'm on. Because again, one drink away from going back to exactly where I was.
So what have you learned about yourself that you never knew before since you've been sober?
I think the mental health stuff is what I've learned. I think I've probably kind of always dealt with anxiety, but it was just much easier to deal with when you had booze and drugs to kind of push it down and down and down. Whereas now that I'm sober, it's starting to come up, and yeah, it's just I'm aware of it now. But again, I'm able to do things that help with it.
Do you have some beautiful moments that kind of come to mind has happened in the last 3 years of your life that you were like, wow, this feels so good, and I feel like I'm supposed to be here experiencing these things right now?
I don't know if there's any particular moment. I think just sitting here thinking about, I think it's the people that have come into my life, you included. My girlfriend Casey, I think another person that I'm so appreciative that they came into my life that's here tonight is Tyson Lisk. Like, it's just, and there's more people, but I don't know if it's any one particular moment. It's just the people that I've drawn in my life, the amazing people and the positive people you guys are that make me smile and make me happy. So thank you. Thank you, Casey, and thank you, Tyson. He's back there somewhere.
And
Love you too.
And yeah, and I witnessed that too as well. Just, I think your video was viewed over 10,000 times. It was shared, and my phone was totally blowing up. And, I was sitting in Vancouver in a coffee shop looking out the window, and Mark texts me, and he's like, Ash, I have to share these things with you. And, you said that I've been able to reconnect with people that I've lost because of my addiction. And we've been able to come to a place where we can just respect each other and we feel okay. Mm-hmm. And we can heal through it, right? And then, again, even when I was home, and I'm sitting there in the coffee shop just crying.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to put into words those feelings, but there's just support for you.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that just tell your story, right? And that's why your platform is so amazing, that you can share, because everyone has a unique story, 3 unique stories tonight, and then 100 others that are out here, right? So it's just, it might be a little scary. It's a little vulnerable sitting up here and again saying what a fuck up I was. But it's great, because hopefully it helps someone out, or hopefully someone out here takes it to someone that's struggling and say, listen, you can do it. If this guy can do it, you can do it. And yeah, I think even just like I said earlier, being a younger guy and showing that, younger people can do it as well. And that if you do need help, reach out. And I just want to say too, I think if someone is struggling, and they think, well, it's not that bad. The last thing you should do is compare it to anybody else, right? And I always say this, everybody's rock bottom is different. My rock bottom was a relationship ending. Someone else's rock bottom is completely different. You just hope that somebody's rock bottom isn't death.
So with the theme tonight of the obstacle is the way, what does that mean for you?
The obstacle that I had to overcome has made me, again, the person that I am today. And like I said, I'm very proud of the person that I am. I wouldn't change it. Like I said, I wouldn't change anything that's happened to me, because it's made me the person that I am. And life just continues to get better as each day goes by and as, more years pile on to being sober. So I could have easily easily let that keep me down and felt sorry for myself for the rest of my life. And then ended up, I could have ended up drinking so much and doing so many drugs that I ended up dying, right? And I did feel sorry for myself for a while, but I said, you know what? Now is time to pick myself up and carry on. So these obstacles and these things that we all deal with make us who we are, but we shouldn't let them keep them down. Pick yourself up and keep going.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me, Mark.
Thank you.